Alright, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com to have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to answer your guys' questions. If you have a question for me that you'd like me to answer in next month's Q&A, make sure you click the link down below to go to my community tab so you can submit your question there. Of the questions submitted, I will select many of them and then try to include them in next month's Q&A. So let's get into the questions. First questions from Zero Hollow. Hey John, just wanted to say I'm loving the vacuum blender and I ordered a lot of the Blendtec juice / nut milk bags. I'm going to use such things to follow a vegetable-based diet, not fruit-based, with a lot of juicing. I have two questions. I hear that combining fruit juices and vegetable juices is a big no-no. I hear this mainly from Jay Kordich and John Rose. Could you perhaps expand on why they shouldn't be mixed and what makes them incompatible? And I also hear that some fruits that are indeed compatible with vegetables like apples, lemons, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Do you know of any other fruits you find work easily with vegetable juices? All right, so let's see. Number one, can you expand on why they should not be mixed and what makes them incompatible? So I don't know what John Rose personally says, but I know Jay Kordich from his books that I've read, he says they will cause some digestive upset. And I can only believe this is due to food combining rules. So, in food combining, you're not supposed to combine certain fruits with vegetables. So you guys could look up food combining. But then, everybody always makes their own exceptions. Maybe I think Jay also said they're enzymatically incompatible, whatever that may mean. And for the longest time, I followed that pretty religiously. I really didn't juice fruits with vegetables so much, aside from maybe some apples. And then in my later years, I got more daring and started, mixing things up a little bit, because sometimes when I have extra stuff, I got to juice it and mix things together. And so that's just what really happens. And I haven't found any particular issues with meat personally, but I definitely believe that if you are new into juicing and haven't juiced a lot, drinking juices can be very upsetting to your intestines and your digestive system, and more importantly, your microbiome. And we want to try to, minimize the upset when you're trying something new, so that you will continue to do it. Otherwise, every time I drink a fruit juice or a vegetable juice, I'm on the toilet, which actually a friend yesterday told me that he couldn't drink a watermelon basil juice I gave him. Oh, I mix vegetables with fruits. Because he said he's going to be on the toilet, 5 minutes later. So we had to wait until we went to a place that he could go to the bathroom before he chugged the juice, and then probably did go to the bathroom. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's what probably makes them incompatible. And I would say every person's different, so I would say that people should experiment. In general, I like to, keep my juices pure and have only vegetable juices and or fruit juices, or mix very few fruits with the vegetable juices. So my goal, and when I'm talking about fruits, I'm meaning sweet fruits. If they're non-sweet fruits like cucumbers or tomatoes or peppers, I will mix those with the vegetables. I feel they are fine personally, and I've never had an issue. Like I juiced tomatoes with carrots to make a recent soup that I posted on my Instagram at Growing Your Greens. Check it out, link down below. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can see what I'm up to on more of a regular basis. I try to post daily what I'm doing, what I'm eating, and some motivational words and information that people can enhance their life with. Enzymes, or maybe some nutrients or food combining rules, sugars in there maybe makes them incompatible. I don't really know. I've never seen any data or science to share with me this. But I think people do need to listen to their bodies and see if something doesn't agree with you, don't do it, or do it in very small quantities to get adjusted before you continue. Okay, so let's see. Do you know other fruits that easily work with vegetable juices? So you had mentioned apples, lemons, cucumbers, and tomatoes. So I would say limes easily, and I would say pears or Asian pears easily, because Asian pears and pears, I would, are pretty much like apples. But if you get soft ones, you definitely should be using your vacuum blender, not a slow juicer, because those, if they're too soft, then they basically mush and put a lot of pulp in your juice and make more of a sauce. Also, any kind of fruit that is considered a vegetable, so like cucumbers, tomatoes, bell peppers. I think those are the main ones that I could think of that are super common. And then the other thing is, I guess Jay Kordich also had a recipe like cantaloupe carrot juice, but he says don't mix. One of his things he said was melons alone or leave them alone. But he's mixing carrots with cantaloupe. So, even then, I think everybody wants to know what are the rules. But to me, I just try to keep things simple. And I make a green juice with no fruit these days. I don't really even like to put fruits in my green juice. It messes it up, because if I want a green juice, I want it to be nice and green, and I don't want my green juice sweet, like, especially because I drink my green juice second juice in the morning, and I don't want to have a lot of sweet stuff in my body, first thing in the morning. But when I make my root juice, for example, I put carrots, beets, jicama, and I'll put usually either apples or pineapples. I prefer apples, but sometimes I don't have enough apples, and I'll have a lot of pineapples, and sometimes I get a lot of pineapples for a good deal, and I'm using pineapples instead of apples, or sometimes I'll use pineapple with a little bit of apple. So to me, that's a combination I deal with fine, and I like. I would not start juicing peaches and all these other, mangoes and all these other fruits. I would just want to eat those plain. In addition, some of those fruits may not juice that well anyways. So what I would say is this: the easiest fruits that you would probably be compatible with, according to my history and what Jay would teach, things like apples for sweetness, and then maybe pears or Asian pears for sweetness. Those would be maybe considered more safe. And then if you want to go outside the boundaries of that, maybe try some pineapple. I've had good luck juicing pineapple with my veggies without any issues for a long time. And then I'd say maybe try some citrus. And then after that, I would never juice berries. It's just a waste of money to juice berries. Berries don't make a lot of juice. Well, you have a vacuum blender with a bag, so you could be juicing that if you wanted to. But I would just juice the berries. I mean, my goal is to, get more vegetables in me through juicing, that I couldn't eat 5 pounds of lettuce, for example, but I could juice it and drink the lettuce juice, which some people may not agree with. I think that'd be a good thing. And so that's what I'd say. And then the other thing I've been doing lately is, because I have an overabundance of certain plants in my garden, so I'll have so much basil, I could not even eat it all. Plus it goes to flower really quick. So I'll basically cut off all the flowers, and then I'll juice that with a melon. So I'll juice mostly watermelon with some basil. So a 32-ounce juice of watermelon will contain 120 grams of basil flowers that were blended up and then strained out. And I don't have any issues digesting that. It tastes good. I'm getting mostly watermelon with a little bit of basil, and the basil really ups the anti-cancer properties of the juice, over just the watermelon alone. I believe I'm making the watermelon better. Although people that eat fruit would say, John, you're making it toxic. The basil has essential oils and all these things. Everybody can believe what they believe and live how they want to live. I'm just sharing what I'm doing in case you want to do it too. All right, so that's the answer I got for you. Next question is from Lavinia Hasrison. John, will you be attending any live events this year like you have in the past before COVID? I like festival or trade show. I love these episodes. Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. You are the awesomest. All right, thank you. So this year I have planned to attend the Texas Fruit Festival. Put a link down below to that. Provided it is on, I guess they need to get a certain number of signups to make the event happen. So I will attend that, provided they are happening that is happening. Well, and it's kind of windy, a lot of stuff's dropping. And then if that does not happen, then I think at the same time I will likely go to Expo East in Philadelphia this year, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But those are the only two that I plan to attend at this point. Next question is from Alex. Thank you, John, for the great work you're doing. You have made a tremendous positive impact in our life. In a recent vacuum juicing video, you mentioned that you are including romaine lettuce because it's, quote, low in deuterium. Should we try to lower deuterium levels in our bodies, and what are some ways to do so? All right, Alex, so deuterium is a topic I really did not want to discuss until I interview an expert on the topic. But basically, deuterium is a type of hydrogen, and there's heavy hydrogen and light hydrogen. Well, and it's quite windy. And basically using heavy water, I guess they made the atomic bomb, so that's how unstable those molecules could be. It's basically, you can look it up if you want more information, but basically every food can be high or low in deuterium. And I don't know if this is true or not, but some of the studies suggest that, if you have high levels of deuterium, you're more likely to get cancer and not be healed of it. And other health factors. So for example, leaves and plants basically push out deuterium in their leaves depending on the type of plant. Not all plants do this, but in general, plants will also absorb more deuterium into their fruits and carbohydrate stores. So if deuterium is important, which I'm not saying it is or not, I believe it to be something that we should be considering, and most, fruitarians have no idea about this, and eating a fruit diet could raise your levels of deuterium. If that is important or not, it may or may not be, and I don't really know, but I want to take a more proactive approach and try to balance out my deuterium so it's not superly high and it's more on the low side. Science shows that in petri dishes, and we're not a petri dish obviously, that they could keep cell lines and cell cultures alive in a lower deuterium water, or deuterium depleted water. So that's deuterium below the normal range, which is approximately 150. At the equator, deuterium is higher, and at the poles, deuterium is lower, and the lowest deuterium water is like water from melted glaciers, if you guys could have that or find that or have access to it. And a common bottled water that's lowest in deuterium is Evian water. Distilling might remove like 1 or 2 deuterium points, and you can make your own deuterium water by freezing it, because deuterium freezes at a different level than non-deuterium water, and then keep freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing to get it lower. I drink a deuterium, water that's been lowered through fractional distillation, but all that gets super complicated. I don't want to really get into a deuterium war, or even if it's true or not, until I talk to some more experts on that than I am as a lay person who's read some of the science and seen some of the information out there. Has it made a major difference in my life eating a more lower deuterium plant-based diet, which would be considered more rare because most people on a plant-based diet would be higher in deuterium? I don't know. I mean, I think it's helpful, but I don't know. But what I can tell you is that green juices, that's just another reason you should be drinking green vegetable juices that are made out of green leaves. A green juice made out of celery or even cucumbers does not count, because once you start introducing fruits or stems of plants, deuterium levels are higher, but the leaves exclude the deuterium. Now, why would I think also in terms of nature, why would leaves reduce deuterium? Because they know that's a growing hindrance, right? I believe, to be a hindrance to the growing, and they want to get the deuterium out so it could grow faster and could be healthier. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I believe, lowering deuterium, if you're super into this stuff, might be something you should look into, and it could not hurt drinking an extra leafy green juice. And that's why sometimes I'll make green juices out of straight romaine leaves or other leaves in my garden, and romaine leaves as my base, and not using cucumbers and not using celery, to lower my overall deuterium content, which you can also test and get blood tests for, which I will be doing one of these days. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to comment further because I know very little on the deuterium subject other than some of the science I've read. I mean, they have conferences on deuterium and all these things over in Europe. I mean, this is really advanced level stuff for most plant-based eaters to even know or think about, but this is what I research in my spare time. All right, so next question is from Luigi Galani. First, thank you so much for all that you give. I appreciate you. How specifically do you prepare your mushrooms? All right, so I'm not growing any mushrooms. I hope to grow mushrooms one day. I did grow mushrooms once or twice. But basically all I do is I buy, mushrooms. Usually I try to get them from local farms or in the local area, and or, organic mushrooms. And then I basically just put them in the Instant Pot for like 10 minutes. I just press the manual mode and crank it down to 10 minutes. I've also done it for as low as 5 minutes. Basically, you want to burn off some of the toxins that is, removed by the heat process. Also, the heat process will also help break down some of the chitin fibers so that it'd be more digestible for us, supposedly. And, I looked up a bunch of studies one day on like how much antioxidants are lost in cooking, and the ways of cooking, and the steaming or the pressure cooking, based on what I remember, was the best way, so that's why I do it. Next question is from Sam. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is mushrooms are very low calorie foods. I could eat so many mushrooms and it would not really increase my percentage of heat processed foods too much. Another food I really like to eat that I heat process is artichokes. Artichokes are something silly, like one large artichoke is like 25 calories. So in the scope of things, once again, I'm supplementing my diet with some heat processed foods. Link down below that video if you're interested in more. Next question is from Is Sam. John has mentioned an environmental NGO that researches the imported food to identify their health composition, heavy metals. Anyone remembers which one it is? Which video does he mention it? So I'm not sure if I mentioned any NGO, but basically what I have recommended in the past, and I know this place does do a lot of testing on some of the foods, especially processed foods, also things like pesticide. They review pesticide data, and it's ewg.org. They also have a cosmetics database where they, will tell you the best, personal care products to use that have the least amount of toxins in them. I really like that organization a lot. ewg.org, Environmental Working Group. All right. Next question is from Bradley Brad. How often do you get your blood tested? Lipid levels, blood glucose, A1C, vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, etc. Since you have lived on a whole food vegan diet for so long, you would be a perfect candidate. It would be super interesting to know your numbers if you'd be open to share that data with us and maybe help all of us to alter our dietary intake with certain things as well. Thank you. So my goal is to get them done every year. Due to COVID, I did not get mine done last year, and I tried to get mine done this year through my doctor friend, Dr. Rick Dina. Link down below to the video where I talk about getting blood tested with Dr. Rick, so you can see where you're at and modify and adjust your diet. He will do consults with you, but he's been too busy with everything he's doing to, get a buddy helped out. So I got to reach back out to him, because I think when I talked to him earlier this year, he said reach out later in the year. He'll probably have more time to get me fixed up there. So it is my goal to get my blood tested this year. And in general, I will make videos sharing, my levels with you guys, because I have nothing to hide. If something's not working with what I'm doing, I'm gonna share it, and I'm gonna adjust my approach, and that's the same approach I want you guys to take. Not to say that your blood levels are gonna be the same as mine, because I eat a very unique and interesting diet. I grow a lot of my food. I buy some of the best, foods I could source. I include small amounts of heat processed foods that expand my diversity and nutrients in my diet as well. And I drink a lot of juices too to concentrate the nutrients. So yeah, so just because my blood test is good or another raw vegan or even vegan person's blood test is good, we can have good blood tests, but it also depends what are you doing specifically, and I really try to, dial that in personally. I'll post a link also to my last blood test that I did with Dr. Rick in case you're interested in some of my numbers. All right, next question is from Samoy Rob. What you think of drinking tea? What's the best way to overcome a coffee addiction? All right, so what do I think of drinking tea? So basically when you're drinking tea, you're taking leaves and you're basically soaking them in water, and you're leaching out any nutrients that's coming out in the water extract when heated, and hopefully the tea is totally ground up fine into the water. And that's great. I think tea is probably one of the best beverages on earth, but I rarely ever drink tea. You could make sun tea. I probably wouldn't drink necessarily a heated tea unless there are some extenuating circumstances. That's not my goal, to burn the heck out of my mouth and to lower some of the nutrients because of the heat process, right? Heating lowers nutrients, as well as how was the tea processed and dried before you get it, right? That's another big thing. So instead, I would prefer you guys to make something like green smoothies or even fresh vegetable juices. When you're making tea, you're basically getting the leaves, and then you're using your source of water, hopefully having a good water that doesn't have chlorine, chloramine, maybe even low deuterium if you're up on it, all these things, and then you're basically getting some nutrients out of it instead of drinking, like tea out of Camellia sinensis. I did grow Camellia sinensis, it didn't make it for me, but you could just harvest the whole leaves and chew up the leaves, put the leaves into smoothies. And if you can't grow your own Camellia sinensis or tea plant, then I would buy matcha tea powder, which I get from Japan, organic, and that's basically powdered tea leaves that then you could add to smoothies. The stuff's bitter as heck, but I'll put it in a green smoothie with some bananas and some greens from my garden, and it's totally just blends into the mixture, and that's a much better and healthier way to drink tea. That being said, if the options are tea versus soda, I want you guys to drink that tea, and probably maybe even if you hate the taste of water and you're gonna drink water because you're putting some tea leaves in it and it's heated, it's definitely important to be hydrated as well. But I always think and like to teach good, better, best, and better to me is that's why I drink green vegetable juices every single day. Maybe I'll have green tea leaves I could throw through the juicer, but then I would probably rather vacuum blend the tea leaves than juice them, because you only extract a little bit of nutrients out when you're doing a juice, depending on the juice you're using and all this kind of stuff. And tea leaves aren't really watery, and I don't have a lot of them either. So I mean, if I had a tea plantation, I'd probably make tea green juice. I want to do that one day. I'll have to visit a tea plantation. Yeah. Second question, how to overcome a coffee addiction. I mean, I'm not I don't know how to do that. I've never gotten myself off a coffee addiction. Luckily, I never started. I will say there are some benefits to coffee, but there's a lot of drawbacks to coffee too. And I think, you know, a little bit of coffee every now and then could be a beneficial thing, but I think most people drink coffee in much excess. And I would encourage people, once again, drink green juices instead of coffee. It's a much better alternative. If I had an addiction to coffee, what I would do is I would reduce my quantity. Say I drank 3 cups of coffee a day, I would go to 2.5 cups a day today. Cut out a half cup. That should be pretty easy peasy. And I would, you know, and then instead for that extra half cup, I would make a bitter green juice, like a dandelion juice. I mean, they got the coffee alternatives, you know, whatever, dandelion roots ground up and stuff. I don't know how that tastes or if it compares to coffee, but you know, you're getting an alkaline hit, you're getting a rush of nutrients and also the caffeine in there. I would make a green juice instead of the last half cup, and I would work on reducing the amount of coffee you're drinking on a daily basis or monthly basis or weekly basis. Get down to 2 cups and drink more green juice, and get down to 1.5 cups, drink even more green juice. Get down to 1 cup of coffee, drink even more green juice to substitute for the coffee. You can make a bitter green juice using dandelion greens, so it kind of tastes that bitter. And you know, hopefully over time you'll also feel the energy that the green juice will be giving you. And maybe one day get down to half a cup of coffee a day and a bunch more green juice. And if you got your coffee down to half a cup, you know, and you're drinking a lot of green juice, you know, coffee is probably, there's a lot more worse things in coffee, unless you're adding the sugar and the cream and all this crap to it. You know, there are some nutrients in coffee, but we don't want to overdo it. And I for one, I would probably agree that I should probably drink a little bit more coffee. That being said, the best nutrients of a coffee is not the bean that's been roasted and then brewed. It's actually the coffee cherry. So my goal is to eat actually more coffee cherry, which is the fruit and not the seed of the coffee plant. Anyways, that's a different discussion topic. Hope that helped you out there. Next question is from Taint Mucilix. What is your take on Brian Clement's claim that the sugar levels in modern fruits are unhealthy due to the centuries of over-hybridization, and that you can get all your sugars from vegetables? All right, so there's 2 parts to that question. Number 1, the easy part is that you could get all your sugars from vegetables. Yes, it is possible to get all your sugars and all your calories from vegetables, right? Absolutely. You know, I eat, which is quite uncommon, a high vegetable-based raw foods diet. I eat fruits. I'm not gonna trash talk fruits, but I eat more vegetables than I could do that by juicing. You could not sit there and eat all the fruits whole and have enough room to get enough into to get enough calories, but you could easily do that with vegetables, especially if you're juicing something like carrots that are definitely more calorically dense than something like lettuce. So you could get all your sugars from vegetables. That being said, I don't know that I necessarily would agree with that either, because the other thing I realized that, you know, every different fruit or vegetable has different levels of nutrients, phytonutrients, vitamins and minerals, and different kinds of unique fiber. And I would never want to give up my cactus fruits, which I love, which are 75%, like 50 to 75% soluble fiber. So even if I juice it, I'm still getting the fiber from my cactus fruits. Plus they got betalains in there. They got all kinds of other good nutrients and, you know, polysaccharides and cactus fruits that I just love. And I'd never want to give those up, and maybe later today I'll be drinking a cactus fruit juice. So I would not want to give up all the fruits and cactus fruits, you know, one of the vegetables that have been minimally hybridized. So the next question is, are modern fruits unhealthy? And that, you know, that's a question I think that I'll leave it up to doctors like Dr. Brian Clement. But, you know, here's my take on it. You know, my take is that fruits and foods of today that you buy in the supermarket have been hybridized. They've been hybridized for many different reasons, right? And, you know, one of the main reasons that fruits have been hybridized is for the sugar content, because it makes it more desirable so that people will buy more of them. And farmers will sell more and all this kind of stuff. And people want the ultra sweet fruits. And that's the other reason, is because people have a perverted sense of sugar and sweetness and a low tolerance to sugar because they've been eating all these processed sugars. So when they get a fruit, especially a peach that's been picked unripe, that's not sweet, they think it's garbage next to a candy bar. And, I barely buy any kind of, peaches or nectarines from the store because they're just picked so unripe. They're so nasty, they're garbage. And, so they've bred those to be sweeter. And if they breed them to be sweeter and they could pick them unripe so that they're sweeter when they're unripe, and then people buy them more and eat more fruits instead of candy bars, that's a good thing. That being said, if you're dialing in your diet right, that's not the place I want to be personally. I think that fruits could be quite healthy, but while fruits have been bred for and hybridized for their sweetness so that they'll sell more, be more popular, I think hybridization for other reasons can be good. So, some fruits, this is really rare, can be bred for, anthocyanin content, or different kind of nutrients or higher nutrition or different phytonutrients, right? It's like cannabis being grown and being hybridized for a high THC content so more people can get high from it and the intoxicating effects, which me personally, I don't appreciate people growing high THC varieties of cannabis because that's breeding out all the other good things about the cannabis and the cannabinoids. It's breeding out things like CBD and, different kinds of cannabinoids that are in there besides the THC. So I'm not a big fan of hybridization for certain reasons, but I'm a fan of hybridization for other reasons like increasing phytonutrient content personally. So it is true to some extent that more modern fruits that have been hybridized have been grown for extra sweetness. Because if you look in nature and just go to wild fruits, wild fruits are really small. In many cases, they're bitter. And I would agree that more wild fruits are healthier than their modern day counterparts. Here's a book you guys should read. This is all a book you guys should read. I've read it several times. It's called Eating on the Wild Side, and they talk about an apple from, the Caucasus Mountains that's super small and super tiny and 1,000 times more nutritious than a modern day apple of today that has been bred for its sweetness. Now, does that mean a modern day apple is unhealthy because it's not as healthy as a small little apple that's as small as the size of a pea, literally that tastes bitter as hell that you probably wouldn't be eating? And most Americans, I would enjoy small bitter ass apples if I knew they're nutritious, because that's just me. I have my acclimated taste buds because I eat bitter stuff from my garden and I'm cool with that. But most people would just totally not ever eat that. So I'm glad they have more modern hybridized fruits that will allow people to eat some fruits and actually have it taste good and not eat the candy bars, the junk foods, the processed vegan tofu and just crap that's even worse than an apple. So, and it depends on, Brian comes from the point where he's coaching a lot of people and helping people that are literally recovering from diseases. Surely people can recover from diseases on a fruit-based diet as well. But, his experience leads him to believe to his conclusions that he has. I think he could be a little bit extreme, but if I was in his situation and I was, trying to heal from something, I would definitely focus more on vegetables because in general, vegetables are more phytonutrient rich than fruits. Berries excluded, and fruits will give you a lot of sugar and calories, which would be good, especially if you're an athlete. But for healing and regeneration, in my opinion, the vegetables are where it's at. Not to say that I did not include fruits. I went to the farm, I picked my own figs yesterday. I have, kumquats here. I eat plenty of white peaches and apricots that I grow, and I bought cactus fruits, and I have jackfruit and cantaloupes and watermelons and honeydew melons in my fridge right now. Pineapples in my fridge, apples in my fridge. I have all kinds of fruits. So, I don't know, this is war, vegetables are better than fruits and fruits are better than vegetables. Everybody needs to find their own balance, and I'll be the first to tell you guys that my balance is heavily weighted towards vegetables than fruits. I have a lot of buddies and friends that eat a lot of fruits, and that's what they find works best. But if you want to follow me and what I'm doing a more vegetable-based diet, and I eat some fruits also. I used to do 2 fruit meals a day, and now I do 1 fruit meal a day. And if I want to do an extra fruit meal a day, I'll do some berries. And I've tried to, not just do mono fruit meals. I'll try to do duo fruit meals. So on my Instagram, I posted I had blueberries with papaya. The other day I did maybe some figs, and then a little bit later I did some orangutans, you know, and then I'd have smaller quantities of each instead of a large quantity of one item. I think it's better to, you know, get a little bit of diversity and maybe challenge your digestive system a little bit personally. But then some people would disagree and like, John, mono meals are better than eating, you know, more than one kind of food at once. And, you know, I think each person needs to experiment to see how well their digestive system works. And for some people, they might not be able to handle 2 fruits at the same meal. I mean, some Americans just eat fruit salads with all these different fruits. You know, I don't go super crazy like that, you know, but, you know, that's what I'm going to say to that. You know, are modern fruits unhealthy? I would say they're unhealthier than wild fruits. Agreed. I would say that modern fruits are healthier than basically most other things in the grocery store. I would agree with that. I would agree also that more people need to eat more fruits in their life because most people don't eat enough fruits or vegetables for that matter. All right. So that's what I'm going to say. And the other thing I'm going to say is that I want you guys to grow your own fruits. You know, I grow several varieties of more wild fruits like elderberries that are very high in nutrients. And when you grow your own elderberries, especially using the right soil, you know, they kind of taste really neutral, like nothing. And, you know, I grow black goji berries and more, you know, goji berries that are kind of bitter. When they're dried, they get sweet, but if you eat them off the plant, they're bitter. And these are more wild fruits. And I want people that are fruitarians to embrace more wild fruits that wouldn't be super sweet, right? I mean, I've learned a lot across my 26-year raw food journey, and my video really doesn't mean much more than a, you know, nice 23-year-old girl that looks pretty and, you know, she's spouting out of her information, which I think is kind of sad, and she's, you know, been doing raw foods for like a year or two. So, you know, I would hope that you guys would weigh my videos with a little bit more confidence because I have been doing this for so long. And, you know, earlier in my raw foods lifestyle, I did eat higher fruits, sometimes 3 meals a day is of fruits. Most times, you know, for most of the career, I've been doing 2 meals a day of fruits, and now I'm doing like, you know, 1 meal a day of fruits. Once again, fruits are not bad. You need to fit them in and see where you are on your journey. Earlier in my journey, I probably could not have done a more higher vegetable diet like I am able to do now. Fruits were great when I was a lot more active and athletic and running and all these things. And nowadays, you know, I think the vegetables are key, especially for the longevity. I think you could burn out too quick if you have too many fruits, but that's just my opinion personally. All right, next question is from Samoy Rob. I have access to fresh, free moringa leaves. Is juicing the leaves from 8 entire leaf stalks daily supplying me with adequate vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients from greens? If not, any cost-effective suggestions of greens of other types? Yeah. So yeah, my moringa tree is right over there. And, you know, definitely moringa is a superfood in its own right, you know, by some people, especially people that are selling powders and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, my belief is that there's no one magical food that you could just eat and live off of for the rest of your life. I mean, surely people live on potatoes and people go to Banana Island, and you can do that for a period of time, but will that lead to long-term health? And based on what I believe, I would say no. So I think that diversity is the spice of life. It is also the spice of your nutrition and your nutrients that you're getting. And it's very important, as you know, I'd rather have somebody eat moringa every day than eat moringa one day and then eat McDonald's hamburgers or even some, you know, vegan, you know, TVP, textured vegetable protein, or some fake meats. I think that even a step better than just doing moringa every day would be to rotate your greens. There can be toxins in certain greens, including heavy metals and plant toxins that are put there so that we do not overeat the food. Luckily, we're able to detoxify plant toxins much better than many animals on earth, but still, they can be problematic for us. So I would encourage everybody to incorporate as many greens as you possibly can. Let's see, just sitting here, how many greens can I say? I think this one's called Lao Lot. It's from Asia. I have longevity spinach here against the wall. Up right here, you guys can see I got the Malabar spinach. You know, I got sweet potato vines right here. Let's see, what else do I got? I think that's all that you can see in the picture right here. But I mean, just sitting here, I have like four different kinds of different greens I could choose from and eat, right? And then my whole garden, I mean, I have at least several dozen kinds of greens I could eat on a regular basis, and it always rotates seasonally throughout the year. And if you live in the tropics, you could have moringa every single day. So especially if you live in the tropics, I would encourage you guys to grow more tropical, perennial, leafy green vegetables. You want to check my other channel, Growing Your Greens, where I make videos on these topics, and you want to rotate your greens because every different green will have different plant anti-nutrients, which could be beneficial to us in small quantities, but you go over a certain amount, they can get you into some trouble, as well as every plant will absorb different minerals from the earth, whether they're beneficial minerals or in some case heavy metals like thallium or mercury or lead. So you could basically cover all your bases by, like if you're at the poker table, you want to play 5 hands because you're sure to, win one of them, or maybe blackjack because you're playing against the one dealer. You're assured to win one of them at least. And that's what I do with basically having a diversity of diets. I'm more guaranteed to win in the end, in my opinion, based on what I know, all right? Next question is pretty long. It's from Connor Magnus. What type of foods consistently make you feel the best? Where do you strike the balance between convenience, health, and flavor? Does the man himself with the discipline of 1,000 men ever have a cheat meal? Any remarkable detoxifying physical breakthrough stories? What are the most important things in your experience for a successful garden? Do you often feel frustrated at the state of agriculture, health, and society, earth at large? If so, how do you find peace with it? What are your favorite flavors / flavor combo? Most fond memories pertaining to raw gardening meetups? Anything you really want to change but struggling to commit to? Downsides of this lifestyle, pick and choose your faves, LOL. I'm gonna answer some of these questions, maybe short format, as many as I can. So what foods consistently make you feel the best? Juices make me feel the best out of any of the foods. I always have tons of energy after I juice, and actually I just drank my juice early and I'm about to eat after I make this video. Where do you strike the balance between convenience, health, and flavor? So to me, my fridge, I'll have an upcoming video where I'm showing what I'm eating in a day, and what's in my fridge is I have tons of food already prepared, ready to go and ready to eat. So to me, it's always convenient and easy. And the foods I make in my home are always gonna be healthy as I believe health to be, which are basically raw fruits and raw vegetables and their juices and salads and soups, all raw of course, with small amounts of heat processed foods to supplement my raw foods diet. And then flavor, I think all my stuff tastes good, but that depends on your taste buds. If you have perverted taste buds from eating a standard American diet, you probably think my stuff tastes like crap. I've had some friends I was hanging out with yesterday that kind of eat more normal than I do, and I had them try my soup, and they thought the soup tasted good, which was good for me, because I was like, all right, good, at least normal people would think my stuff tastes good. But I've also had my soup, and my soup every time is different, right? I've had my soup taste tested by other people that think it tastes horrible, and how could you eat this? So I don't know, maybe I have a perturbed sense of taste buds because I've been eating healthy so long. Maybe that's why I like eating bitter, little small fruits sometimes. All right, does the man himself with discipline of 1,000 men ever have a cheat meal? So I've set up my life so that I don't have cheat meals, because to me it's just not cheating, and I don't eat outside of the diet that I've set up for myself, because I just, some things to me are just simply not food. They're not going to nourish my body. They're not going to bring me closer towards what I want in life. It'll just bring me away from life. I have, like eating a Snickers bar or a pizza, or just going out to eat at some vegan restaurant. I have no desire to do so. People don't understand that. Like I've been doing this for so long, 26 years. That's just not me. It's not what I do. It's not my identity. So I think that's what you really need to do. You need to change your identity, and make your identity what it is. I don't like to classify myself with a label identity. I like to say what I do. So, I eat a plant-dominated, fruit and vegetable-dominated, minimally processed food diet with a variety of phytonutrients and beneficial minerals and antioxidants, and as many of them as I could grow myself that have been minimally processed and stored for the least amount of time. And I could go on and specifically describe what I'm doing than just say I'm a raw vegan, because you could be a raw vegan, eat nothing but fruit. You could be a raw vegan, eat a high fat gourmet. So many things could encompass what is a raw vegan. So I like to specifically define what I do so that I don't need a label to put on, or who I am or how I define myself, okay? Any remarkable detoxing physical breakthrough stories? Maybe when I started this out 26 years ago, and I don't really remember too many of them. I think the main story that I remember is that I went on a Rise and Shine colon cleanse, and I was drinking nothing but water. So I was almost on a water fast, but I was still drinking herbs, still in bentonite. And my skin cleared up for the first time in my life. I was crying in the shower because I was like, looked over my body and I was like, oh my gosh, the doctors were never able to do this, because I always get teased as a child as having, you know, dry skin issues or opportunities. And I remember crying in the shower, and I don't remember if I was crying because I was so happy that my skin cleared up, or so like, oh my God, now I could eat this crazy raw food stuff for the rest of my life. So that's just one story. What are the most important things that, in your experience, for a successful garden? Effort. If you don't put the time in, you're not gonna get the rewards out. So effort could be in the form of researching and finding the best low maintenance plants or crops to grow in your garden. And then you made the effort to find the ones that are the easiest to grow. This year I definitely found them. They're sweet potatoes. I'm growing purple sweet potatoes, like 2 varieties. Super easy. Just make sure they get enough water and they take over the whole place. And I hope to dig up lots of my own homegrown purple sweet potatoes to have for the winter and even into next year if I store them properly. Do you often feel frustrated at the stage of agriculture, health, and society and earth at large? So I don't know how to feel frustrated. You know, I that's a strong word for me, like frustrated. You know, I'm just doing what I'm doing, sharing what I'm doing, and I think it just sucks, the world at large and how people are living. And when I go to grocery stores and see people with, you know, baskets full of like processed foods, junk food, soda, and all these things that, you know, and I kind of wonder to myself, like, do they really know how much that is hurting their health? And I have to believe that they just have no clue what it's doing, because if they did, maybe they would make other choices, but then maybe again, they wouldn't make other choices. And I mean, I'm okay with that. If somebody knows knowingly the outcome that McDonald's is probably going to cause you to get heart disease and die of the common illnesses and things, you know, I mean, I probably should have books, How Not to Die, and just hand them out to people. But then people probably wouldn't even read the book anyways. Maybe I should hand out the audio books. Maybe they wouldn't even listen to the audio books anyways, and find out that, you know, a plant-based diet, healthy plant-based diet, is a solution to, you know, all the major killers in America, and how agriculture and all the monoculture and all the chemicals being used to grow crops. I mean, that stuff could just get you down, and you could just be living under a rock and think the whole world's messed up and there's no hope. I like to think, you know, there's hope, and that's why I make my videos on a regular basis. You know, I probably work a lot harder than most plant-based people, and I put out 3 videos a week on 3 different channels that are usually longer format to really dive into the info to share with you guys, because that's how I'm making a difference in the world, and that's how I see the light, you know, by making a difference. By one new person will watch my video, this video, and maybe they'll start eating more fruits and vegetables, and maybe over time they'll eat more and more, and then, you know, and they'll be a lot healthier because of it, and then they're going to tell some friends, and that's how things are going to change. Things are not going to change from the top up. You know, nobody during this whole virus thing has been telling people to like really eat healthy, aside from some YouTubers. I mean, mainstream media should be telling people to eat healthy so that they can have a strong immune system in the first place, and then maybe they wouldn't need the vaccine. But I'm not even going to talk about vaccines because it's a whole controversial subject. Let's see, how do you find peace with it? Well, you know, I stay with my mission on making the world a better place. Let's see, what's your favorite flavor combo? I mean, I don't know, my favorite flavor combo. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, whatever's ripe. Like, I was eating figs off my tree, and that's my favorite flavor combo at that time. I don't want to say it's this. My favorite flavor combo is open to whatever it is at the time that I'm eating. You know, and I don't know, I try not to have so many favorites, because then you're gonna gravitate and eat that. Like if I told you bananas are my favorite flavor combo, which it's totally not. That's probably like the lowest thing I could eat on a fruit, like, you know, bananas from the store that's organic, that have been imported and gassed to ripen. If I had some fresh bananas off the banana plant, you know, I probably would appreciate those a lot more. So it just depends, you know. I'd say fresh foods really light up my senses. Let me see, any fond memories pertaining to raw gardening meetups? I mean, I can only say some of the, you know, raw food festivals that I've been to in the past are some fond memories and stuff. Anything you really want to change but struggling to commit to? So up to recently, the biggest thing I was struggling with was eating late at night. I was gonna make a whole video on this topic. I don't know if I will or not now, but I've been struggling with that for the longest time. I mean, everything I eat is on the upper echelons of healthy and what I believe healthy to be. But the problem is the time you eat can be critical to your health or not. And just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean, you know, you're going to be all right. So, you know, more recently, I've really been dialing that in. I tried to do this, you know, maybe last year or something, and I was not successful. but I'm sticking to it. So far, I'm like 2 weeks in, and my goal, I had to, you know, I didn't used to start eating until noon, and that would really mess my schedule up, because I thought it was good to fast in the morning, but emerging science is showing that it's better to fast at night before you go to bed and eat earlier in the morning. So now I wake up, whenever I wake up, it's anywhere between 6 o'clock and 8 a.m. normally, and then I don't eat until 10, and at 10, that's when I have my 2 juices. At this point, I'll have like my turmeric ginger shot, and then I'll have my green juice, and then 2 hours later, or when I get hungry, then I'll eat my lunch, which is right after this video, which is maybe around noon to 2 optimally, because I don't want to start eating too late, because that my lunch meal was formerly my dinner meal, which is a heavier meal, so it takes more time to digest. I'll let that digest for several hours, and then maybe by my normal dinner time, I might have like a fruit meal or some berries, or maybe a smoothie or another juice, and then maybe a little bit after that, might have a little bit more fruit and or a juice, and then I stop eating by 9 p.m. So now my eating window is now 11 hours, and my non-eating window is 13 hours, and I generally don't go to bed till midnight, so then I have at least 3 hours before I go to sleep. And my goal is to move that 9 p.m. eating time down a little more to like 8 or maybe 7. But you know, once again, I teach by the inch is a cinch, by the yard it's hard. If I just started to try to stop eating at 5, I would probably just give up and eat late, and then I'd be like, I blew it and I'm messed up, you know? So at least by 9, I could pretty much handle 9 o'clock. And if I get hungry later on in the evening, because I'd always eat late at night, then I'll try to distract myself, just get online or do something, or watch some, you know, some Netflix or something. So that's been the hardest thing, but I think I'm committed to it. And there's probably other small things, but that is a big thing. And I want to encourage you guys to, you know, don't eat too late at night. I mean, my friend Paul Nissan, I probably should have listened to him a long time ago, wrote the Daylight Diet book, and he always called me the midnight diet guy. So, you know, he was right. I love you, Paul. All right. So anyways, next question is from Anna Rewinkle. Hey John, I see you're trying to improve your diet with all the juices and greens and veggies, but as you already mentioned, it takes a lot of effort for you. Where's your limit when you will say, now it's good enough for me? I mean, it's already better than for the most of us, but it doesn't seem to me that you'll stop anywhere soon. Just a little concerned. Have a lot of respect for you and your daily efforts. Stay healthy. Love, Anna. All right, Anna, so I think each person needs to make their own personal determination on how much time and effort they want to put into how much time they spend, you know, preparing the foods for themselves that they eat, right? To me, is making food an effort. Like, I enjoy making food. You know, I have an outdoor kitchen, so actually almost all the food I make is in my outdoor kitchen. I'm looking at my garden, breathing fresh air, getting the wind as it blows by, listening to music, or maybe listening to a YouTube video or some old sitcoms that I enjoyed as a child on my garden TV while I'm preparing my food. And you know, every day it's a ritual that I will spend 1 to 2 hours, sometimes a little bit more, in the garden preparing food. And that's just part of what I do in a day. I mean, I've set up my life so that I can do this. I work from home, you know, I garden, and I do things that I enjoy. So, you know, to me, I don't have a 9-to-5 job. If I did have a 9-to-5 job, I would still commit at least an hour, maybe 2 max a day to prepare my food for the next day so that I would eat healthy, because I believe the time I put in now to preparing healthy food will pay me back later on in life when I may not have as much time to do it. You know, when I have a family and have kids and a girlfriend or a wife to hang out with and spend time with, hopefully we'll do these things together, and it'll take us half the time, you know, and she'll enjoy the process of gardening and making food, and she understands that it is important to her so that she has long-term health and can have healthy children as well when the time is right. So, you know, that's about as much as I'm gonna do. I grow my food, I source food, you know, going out and sourcing food. I'll visit farms in the area. I'll go out for like, you know, literally a half day, a couple of times a week, go into like, I don't know, 6 to 10 different stores every shopping trip to, you know, go out and find the best deals and the best quality produce I can and get the diversity that I need. You know, I can't get fresh ginseng unless I go to the certain Asian market. And, you know, but then when I'm there, you might find some rambutans or something else that I want to eat that I haven't eaten in a while, or some new food to try or experiment with. And I mean, it is a lot of work, but it's like what I want to do with my life. I mean, maybe if I had another hobby that I enjoyed more, but I don't. And maybe some of you guys, I mean, life comes down to priorities. What's the most important thing for you? Most important thing for me is enjoying my life and having the energy to do so, and to have, more importantly, a long health span and lifespan, not just a lifespan, but a health span as well, to be able to enjoy health, you know, and do hiking and all the things I love to do. And I think through diet and other practices I do, it's not just about the diet, you know, I do a meditation in the morning, I do red light therapy, I do, you know, this blood therapy, you know, increase blood circulation therapy every day, a couple times a day, having time to relax in peace out in nature, in the garden. All these things are very important. Until I find something better to do, like if I have a girlfriend, definitely then I'll be reducing the time that I'm spending all this stuff, but hopefully she'll be sharing time with me to help me do this, so that it will reduce my time so that I can spend more time with her, and hopefully kids one day, and other projects that I have going. So yeah, and everybody needs to find their personal balance and find out, you know, if something's really important to you, then you should dedicate more time to it. If it's not as important, dedicate less time to it. And then over the years, because I've been doing this a long time, set up your life so that you can focus on what's most important to you and have the time to do so without having to worry about making money or a job, right? So I've set my life up to do this, to maximize my efficiencies, 4-hour work week or whatever, you know, all these kinds of books. I think it'd be quite helpful. All right, last question or comment is from Elena Cosmidis. Hi John, Dr. Graham commented on the minor changes to your regime, i.e. eating some heat processed foods. He thinks you'll eventually be back to eating 100% raw, and that eating foods that's cooked for variety is unnecessary. So I definitely appreciate Dr. Graham and his personal opinions on what he feels. And I think that's great that, you know, he feels that I'll be back to 100% raw. Will I be back to 100% raw? You know, so I would never really claim 100% raw, maybe back in my early days. But then, you know, I only claim 99%, which is, you might as well be 100%, because I was a lot more strict than most raw foodists that I ever met, including growing my own food, as Dr. Graham does, which I appreciate a lot. And I appreciate that one of the things I learned from Dr. Graham personally was the variety that we should be eating as raw foodists, and I see it quite detrimental, as many raw foodists might be really severely limiting the quantity and types of fruits they eat. That is definitely not Doug, because I learned from Doug about the variety of fruits, and also subsequently vegetables, you know, that I grow, and I grow a large variety. And then more recently, while I do appreciate Doug once again, I've also learned through some of the science that, you know, increasing my diversity even more through adding some heat processed foods, you know, should be a good thing. Have I proven it yet? No. I mean, there are consequences to eating some small amounts, and I appreciate that you said minor changes to my regime, because they actually are minor. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm not saying cooked foods people should live on cooked foods by any means. People should live on raw foods, whether that's 100% raw, which not many people do anyways, or even just I think everybody should live on a high percentage raw, and each person needs to determine what percentage that is for them. Because at a certain point, by eating more of one food, you will be automatically eating less of other foods. So my goal is to get a greater diversity, as shown by some of the science, for your microbiome. You know, our microbiomes are an important part of our immune system, and have a lot of things that do a lot of things in our body that I don't understand. And as far as I understand it, the greater diversity of specifically fiber and phytonutrients, right? And I love fruits. They can be very diverse and rich in fiber, and many kinds of fiber, but other vegetables and other heat processed foods like mushrooms have chitin fiber that, to my knowledge, are not found in fruits. You know, could be definitely better for us, and that's why I'm doing it. So time will tell, and we will see. And I'm, you know, putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm living what I believe. And you know, if you want to do it too, great, and if not, that's great too. And you know, let's check in about 20 years and see what's up, because that's really what time proven. The other thing I want to do is I want to do microbiome testing, where I actually test my gut microbes, and I'd be really interested in testing, like somebody that eats a fruit-based diet. I have a guy in mind locally, maybe he'll do it. And so I want to compare my microbiome to his microbiome living on a fruit-based diet, to see, like, from a microbiome test, which person has a better microbiome according to testing. Now, of course, you could also say microbiome testing are totally hogwash and bogus, and that it's not important, and that'd be your right also. I believe to be microbiome testing and some of the new science emerging to be quite critical. I mean, there's a microbiome in our soil, and we're defeating a microbiome in the soil by eating conventional foods grown with pesticides and chemical fertilizers. And so I'm all about the microbiome of the soil, and that even motivates me more, you know, to maybe heat process some of my foods, to include more of the foods that I grown in a rich microbiome. And I encourage everybody out there to grow a garden. If you don't want to eat heat processed foods, buy minimally, grow your own foods in your garden. At least that'll enhance your microbiome. I'll probably have a video upcoming on how to increase your microbiome as a raw foodist, because it's a topic that really not many raw foodists discuss, and I believe it to be quite important. These days, you know, there's ways to increase your microbiome that I have been doing for years without eating heat processed foods, but now I'm, once again, minor changes to my diet to maybe make it a little bit even more. I get a very small amount of my calories from heat processed foods, and it's not my goal to eat heat processed foods for my calories. It's my goal to eat mostly vegetables for my calories, especially juice vegetables, and then get calories from fruits, a little bit of fats, and then also some heat processed foods as an addendum, but that's not a major calorie source for me. That's just for fun and for microbiome enhancement. So I think that's pretty much it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this with somebody else that you guys think it could help. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know or sharp what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And an update, I'm getting a new camera, so hopefully it should be here next week, so my quality of my videos will be enhanced greatly coming up really soon. I don't know if I'll be using it for 4K, but it's definitely a badass camera, and I'm looking forward to it. Because I've been using the same camera I've had for, I don't even know, at least the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Anyways, so bye-bye camera, sorry. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are all wealth of knowledge. I'll post a couple links down below, some related videos to the Q&A today, so you can check that out and learn more on some of the individual topics. Over 600 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to sharing with you guys how to eat more fruits and vegetables and get them into you in the healthiest way possible. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.